Phil, right?
Yes.
So Phil, what do you do? You're a sound designer?
So I'm a sound designer and front of house engineer, mainly for large-scale orchestral shows. So this year I'm supposed to be out onto a quite extensive Ministry of Sound, the annual classical, and all of those shows have been pulled. I'm also supposed to be out with Hilda's score for Joker, the movie. We're taking that out with film to live orchestra with Sembler Events and Warner Brothers. But again, all of that has been put back into 2021.
So you've been quite deeply affected by...
Absolutely. I'm a limited company director and a freelancer, and since we locked down in March, I've done about 3 jobs. Where I'd normally be, certainly through, April through October, be just flat out, and that's kind of the season. And then there's bits and pieces in the winter, but the summer with tours and festivals
has been scrapped.
Yes.
So obviously this is hugely important, something for you, like an event like everyone gathering in solidarity sort of thing.
Absolutely, because these aren't just co-workers and colleagues. These are friends and family that I've been working with for 25 years, and a lot of them have had really significant losses in terms of having to move home, having to relocate their children to other schools just because they have literally run out of money. I mean, I don't think anyone can plan for your whole work diary to just go away, and I think that's the bit that is getting skipped by the government and a lot of the media coverage of what the government are saying. The government are basically saying, well, everything's back to normal now, we'll phase out the furlough scheme in October, and yes, some people will lose their jobs, but it's all pretty much business as usual. It's not business as usual, and it won't be until at least Q2 2021, which will mean most people will have had nothing for a year.
So from your sort of standpoint, obviously James spoke about a sort of industry-specific furlough scheme.
Yes.
For the events industry. What needs to happen right now?
Right now, the government need to stop telling us that they can't determine where our dividends come from. We do tax returns so that they know exactly where our dividends come from, and I have to say on my tax return which of my dividends come from my work as a sound engineer and which of my dividends come from other sources like investments. So it's very easy for them to look at my monthly earnings. They have it in my tax return so they can see when I've had a good month, when I've had a bad month. Because I'm in a situation like so many where I'm on furlough of my basic salary, which is a fraction of what I pay myself, because as a limited company director I pay myself in dividends.
So you've effectively furloughing yourself. Right?
Yes, because then when the money is there, when I'm having a good month, I can pay myself a little extra and save, and when the money isn't there, I don't do that. But the government, they have all this information, and yet they've used it as an excuse to treat limited company directors and PAYE employees completely differently, even though you can have 2 people earning the same money doing the same job. One of them happens to be a subcontractor, one of them happens to be an employee of the company, and the employee of the company is supported up to £2,500 a month, and I'm supported to the tune of about 300.
Incredible.
And it was same as for friends who are on SCISS, and then there's this 50 grand hard cut-off, so someone who had a really good year and did 51 gets nothing, where someone who did 49 gets the payment. The other thing that's really frustrating, and that I think we really want to get across tonight, is that the government are saying, well, we've given you 1.57 billion. This is a £100 billion industry. 1.57 billion will see the crown jewel venues in London through to next year. So places like the Royal Albert Hall, the Royal Opera House, the National Theatre, those venues will be saved from closure. It's basically so the government doesn't have to have those venues go bankrupt on their watch. That's what that money is. In terms of it coming down to regional venues, it's in the few tens of thousands per venue, which is nothing. And it doesn't account for anything for the crew, most of whom are freelancers and have been completely missed by all the schemes thus far. So all we're asking for is parity, but also the fact that our industry is going to take far longer to get back on its feet. We're going to need a vaccine. We're going to need people to feel comfortable and sit in a full room of people and have that incredible experience of the shared experience of a gig.